In this video, I want to talk to you about Bridge and how to make a contact sheet very quickly and easily. I'm going to look at my doc and I've got this bit of software called Bridge. Well, Bridge is really similar to your Finder. So however you use your Finder, I like to have a list of my Finder and then I can see examples. You can look at it as individual images or icons or as a list. Well, it's kind of a bit similar to that. One of the things I cannot do with this list is reorganize, so I can't put it into an order. I could go in and rename everything and then we could look at it in alphabetical order. So I can rename. But if I take a folder, and here I've got a folder of images for one of the exercises, and I'm just going to drop it into Bridge. So you can use a navigation system and find folders, but it's just as easy. It's nice and quick to just have your folder ready and drop it into the icon, which is Bridge down here. Now you'll probably initially be in Essentials, so your screen will look a little bit like this. And if I have a look, I'm just going to adjust my screen a little bit. So if I have a look up here, I have Essentials and lots of other things as well, but I'm only going to talk about a couple of things. So in Essentials, I can take a look at my files. I can get a preview here. You can stretch all the elements. So if I wanted to see that a bit bigger, it will go as big as its actual size. So these are very small images. So it will only go as big as its pixel size. You've got lots of information down there about each individual image, similar to your Finder, but probably a lot more as well. Size, resolution, file type, and the date you created or modified it. Now, one of the things that I can do with Bridge is I can reorganize my files. So if my files are all mixed up, and I can decide what order that I would like them to be in. So I'm going to just organize my files so they make some kind of sense if I printed them out in the same order. Okay, so I might put this up here and then put all my landscape images together and then put my human beings, or sort of human beings together, and wildlife at the end. Okay, so what use is that? Well, one of the things that you can do with Bridge is to generate what's called a contact sheet. And just to refresh you, a contact sheet looks something like this. So photographers would use them in the darkroom to work with negatives. And negatives are difficult to see. So you might print a sort of mini version, a little contact sheet of the negatives. You lay the negatives down and you print them onto photographic paper. And then they could annotate them and decide what cropping they would like to see on the image, and maybe indicate what images are going to work. Maybe even, as Marilyn did, cross out the images she was really, really unhappy with. Okay. The same thing really can work for us as graphic designers. We can create a contact sheet, print it out, annotate it. So for instance, in this exercise, I would be working to a square format. So lots of these images do not work. And I might annotate it to sort of begin to think about what it is I want to actually use in the final exercise. In the case of this folder is just my final work. So the original work that I started with, I could have recorded the exercise as I was doing it, taken screen grabs, and then these are all the variations that I made. So it might just be, I want to have a very quick, orderly way of creating a sheet from this. In order to do that, I go to Output. You'll get a template when you move to Output. What you need to do is decide on what template you want to work with or start with, and then you can adjust it. So if I just take all of these images now, and I'm using Command A to select them all, I'm going to drag them in. Then what I have in the contact sheet is 2 pages of 4. So you can scroll through them and have a look at how they look. Now that might be fine, but you might want to adjust the grid and margins. So you might want to decide how many columns and how many rows you have, for instance. So if I want them all on one page, I'm going to create 2 columns and 4 rows, because I know I have 8 images, and you can tell that down here at the bottom. You can see 8 selected, so I have 8 images. Another thing you might be interested in doing is adjusting the cell space or the cell size. Often they look like the same thing. Okay, so I'm just going to click away so that you can see, and then the cell spacing will allow you to put spacing in or remove it, so you could bring them all together if you wanted to. And the cell size, again, is going to give you a similar adjustment. But you can see, for instance, it's enabling me to create a middle column if I wanted to, for instance, print it off and write something about the images in the boxes. That might be useful. And your margins will allow you to put a margin in the top. So again, you could add a header up here or print it out and handwrite whatever it is you want to work with. Likewise, you have bottom, or you can have a left margin or a right margin. So it just enables you to control the document. In a contact sheet, I just want to see everything. Okay, I'm going to just add a header, and I can do that here. Under header, I'm going to say include header, and we'll call this my Warhol screen printing technique. Don't worry about the spelling too much. And then, of course, I can tell it to be justified, just the size of it, and so on. Okay, so you've even got control over the color of the text in here as well. Okay. You can include page numbering as well if you've got multiple pages. And if I don't want the text, so if I don't want the document name, I can go into document and I can just say untick include file name. And also you've got the file extension here, which you can do independently. So now I've got them all kind of butted up together. If I decided I wanted a little bit of space, go back to your grid and margin, and then have a look at introducing some space if that's what you require. The final thing is just to send it out to PDF. So I'm going to hit the export button. Know where it's going. Okay, it's going to default to somewhere like your documents folder. If you lose things, always look when you're saving, look in your documents folder. And I'm going to go back to my desktop and just place it on the desktop, give it a name, Warhol, etc. Okay, whatever I need to put in. I'm going to save it. And then that creates a PDF, which I can then open, print, write on, put in my sketchbook, or use for any sort of other possibility, put it into a digital document, or take it back into Photoshop and annotate it in that place or in InDesign. One thing I just want to add to this is don't make your contact sheet images so small that they're difficult to see. Okay, the idea is to be showing off your work. So if you want forward to a page to show what you're doing, and you can annotate on top, you could write on top of your images as well, then do so. Take as much space as you need, and try not to generate hundreds and hundreds of contact sheets, just contact sheets. Remember the skills that you learn at level 2, and remember that you can also place your images in a Photoshop document yourself, so that you have variations in size. Okay, you don't necessarily want to be have everything at a rigid size itself. Okay, so you might want to have a variation on the page. Well, that's not something we could do. So with a contact sheets all kind of look the same. So don't make your work all look the same, but use them where it's appropriate to do so.